I'm Rodney.
I'm Jamal.
Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Vince.
And we are
Under Construction.
This week, we're going to dive into some unexpected Hornets topics from a listener. We were asked the question, if the Hornets go into tank mode, will we still go to games and will we still watch it on TV? And how motivated would we be to even consume the team? Any thoughts?
Okay, well, just to clarify for everybody that's listening and watching, he asked if Kemba leaves and the Hornets go into tank mode. So what's up, Mark? Here's my deal. If Kemba leaves, I don't think the Hornets will go into tank mode. I don't think they will go into tank mode. But to answer the question, which is, would we still go to the games or not, presumably if he leaves and they go into tank mode, I will still go to the games. Simply because I've always preached the narrative that you go to the games because of the name on the front of the jersey and not the name on the back of the jersey. So if I don't go to a game, it's going to be my frustration that I've had, for the last 2 or 3 years since I've moved to Charlotte. It'll be because I don't want to deal with that traffic. I don't want to deal with parking in this parking deck and it's $10 or parking in this parking deck and it's $20 or just looking for parking in general. And that would be my reason for not going to the games. But because Kemba leaves, that would have no play on me going to the games.
The train is $4.
Okay. Now listen. You mentioned.
I mean, it's right by your house.
The train is $4.
It's right by your house.
But see, now here's the deal. I am a proud masculine male, right? But I do have some other qualities. When I'm driving to the game or when I'm going downtown, like I'm doing things that I can't bring with me on. Like I'm combing my beard, I'm picking my beard.
Why can't you do it on the train?
I'm not gonna because if I do that on the train, now I gotta take my pick to the game. And I don't want to have all that stuff with me. So, like, when I'm picking my beard out and then I got my mouthwash before I go, like, all that stuff stays in my mouth. When I'm brushing, no, it's not. That's why I mentioned that. It's not. So, like, I be grooming and whatnot. And then, like, let's say I don't eat. We all know that the food at the Spectrum Center is like $100 for, like, 4 Bojangles chicken strips or whatnot. So, like, if I get...
Nice C rating, too.
So, if I get something to eat... I'm eating in my car. I'm not eating on the train.
I mean, there's a place called the Epicenter with some wings.
Yeah, with wings and nachos
and Mexican food and Ghana food.
Yeah. Well, look, I just want to say that combing your beard took a weird turn. But anyway.
And it's like this, for all the fellas out there with legitimate beards, they completely understood where I come from. I'm going to just leave it at that.
All right, cool. Getting back on track here. I'll say this, man. I sat through 7 and 59. It don't get worse than that. Yeah. So Kemba leaving, it's funny coming from me because I mentioned this a lot. I'm a diehard UConn fan. I have followed Kemba Walker since he was a freshman in college up until this point. It's going to be, needless to say, it's going to be hard for me to see him leave. But like Vince alluded to, man, you go to games to root for the name on the front instead of the back of the jersey. And again, I sat through 7 and 59. If I can sit through that, I can sit through anything. And as far as Hornets going into tank mode, I disagree with you slightly. The Hornets will have no choice to go into tank mode because that roster is not going to be sufficient enough to not tank. So by default, that team will go into tank mode.
Okay. So now, by default, the team goes into tank mode because we lose our cornerstone piece, all that good stuff. But when I hear something like, "Do you think the Hornets will tank?" What I receive from that is, do I think the Hornets will intentionally put themselves in a worse position than what they would be in with Kemba being in? Now, if they keep the same young core, right, I don't see that as tanking. If they get rid of some of those bad contracts, I don't see that as tanking. Now, if they start getting rid of Malik Monk, if they get rid of Graham, if they get rid of Bacon and Bridges, while they unload those bags, I would see that as tanking.
No, that's clearly tanking. Because don't look, man. Those young guys to me are just, you don't mess with them.
And I don't think they do that.
Right. I don't think they will do that. I totally agree with that.
Now, Rodney, I know the tank conversation is something that's real personal to you. So I'm gonna let you get a little bit of shine in this too. I know you're the moderator, but I'm gonna try and bring you into this conversation. So what do you think? What do you think?
I think the Hornets would intentionally go into tank mode.
You intentionally think they're going to do away with Bridges, Monk, Bacon.
No, I mean
the greatest player of all time.
To me, playing Monk is tanking.
Oh,
But I mean,
okay.
I'm being real with you. I'm being real with you. Playing Monk is tanking. I mean, he's a net negative on the floor, and then they would intentionally play Batum. They would intentionally play Batum to try to eke out any value they have of Batum.
Now let me ask you this:
I'm telling you,
okay.
that would happen.
So if Kemba leaves, how good or bad do you see this team wins wise? Just give me a number.
We finished the season at 39.
Yeah.
17.
17. Yikes.
17 wins.
Okay. So 17 wins. So obviously we ain't doing that.
Right.
Okay. So do you agree? Yes or no that Malik Monk is a good player right now?
No.
Okay. So Malik's not a good player, and you see us winning 17, 18 games or whatnot by playing Monk. Because the season is a loss already, what if that's just him getting some experience and some growth and some development against legitimate NBA talent?
I mean, it's me personally. I was never a fan of Monk. I mean,
Okay.
I hate to say I'm a part of the Monk haters club. I mean, I
couldn't tell.
You know.
But honestly, as a Hornets fan, I want him to succeed. I just haven't seen enough for me to believe in him at this point. As soon as Monk becomes a 45% shooter, scoring 17, 18 points a game, I'm with my pom-poms like our friend Shai would say in the background, go Malik. But I mean, I have not seen any like real growth. Like that's just like I'm looking at Bridges play, I'm looking at Graham play, I'm looking at Bacon play. You obviously see the growth within those guys. Monk, I have not. He's the same player as he was when he first came in last year.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just being honest.
But that goes back to the previous conversation we even had last week, and I've said it, man. Like he's got to show that he's put in work. He's got to get stronger. He's got to watch film, and I put just a little bit of onus on coaching because Borrego's got. It's not an easy job, but Borrego's got to. He has to coach Malik Monk up. It's reality. It shouldn't be that way, but that's. It's where we're at. You know what I mean?
True.
Now, look, you can't. What's the saying? You can't lead a horse to water or something like that. Whatever.
Yeah.
It applies to Malik Monk, man. And this is why this particular season is so critical. Unless he gets traded at the draft, which
Okay. Speaking of Malik Monk, the Hornets had a framework of a deal around the trade deadline. So. They were basically at the finish line of the Marc Gasol deal, and everything fell through. And Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN reported that Kemba was a little bit perturbed that the trade didn't go through, and it kind of soured him on some things. Do you guys think this is a true report? Because, I mean, I'm inclined to believe Wojnarowski. He's a 30th franchise.
Right.
Okay, Jamal, with you being a Connecticut fan and all that good stuff, I know Kemba's pretty near and dear to you for other reasons, so I'm going to let you take this one first.
Man, there's so much to this. For argument's sake, let's say it is true. Let's say Kemba was perturbed that this deal didn't go through. At what cost? Because if Memphis is talking about we want Bridges, we want Monk, even though you have a very strong opinion about Monk, do we mortgage any little bit of our future for 34-year-old Marc Gasol just to chase 6th seed at the highest?
Gotcha. But
You finish. Me personally, I'm glad we didn't do the deal. For the long term. Now, for the short term, it's obvious it could have helped us. Mm-hmm. But to me, man, it was just not worth chasing just temporary, whatever, that 6th seed to mortgage any little bit of future that we had. And I understand why Kemba would be perturbed because he is a competitor. He's thinking in now mode. I want to win now. As a basketball player, you're not thinking about the team's future. So, I mean, does it make sense?
It makes sense.
You know what I mean? And I get it, but...
And I'm going to add a little background. The framework reported in the deal was MKG, Biyombo, and a protected first.
Yeah.
So you wasn't really even giving up.
Now, here's the deal. Now, with Kemba being upset, I'm glad that he was upset that the deal fell through because it means that he cares.
Yeah.
And you would want someone who cares as opposed to someone who doesn't. But Here's why I'm not going to beat up management for not making the deal. Too many people in this fan base want us to make a trade just for the sake of making a trade. And how many times have we made a trade that have been a bad trade, and then we go and we crap on management for it?
Right.
I'm all for Charlotte making a trade, but I don't want them to make a trade that will put them in a worse situation. Now, from my understanding, like you said, they were willing to give up MKG, they were willing to give up Biz, and they were willing to give up a first-round pick, a protected pick. But the two teams couldn't agree on the protection.
Right.
And because of that, I am not going to fault Charlotte for that, because it's like it's the same problem that we actually had last season. Mm-hmm. A lot of us got upset at Charlotte because we didn't make a trade. Charlotte actually was in trade talks with a lot of teams. There are a lot of teams who want some of the assets that we have. But the problem is, in order for them to get those assets, they're asking of things that will hurt us more in the long run that will help us. Now, one more point, then I'll let you go, Jamal. Now, here's the deal. If you look at the Memphis-Toronto trade, I think Toronto won that trade, and it's not even close. No. But what you got to understand is that when it comes to these teams, there's a hierarchy. Like all these owners, they have X amount of power in the league. Mm-hmm. And with Charlotte being at the very bottom, Michael Jordan can't walk into an office and say, hey, I'm going to give you XYZ, take it or leave it. Okay?
But I thought Michael Jordan, he's Michael Jordan.
He's the
what do you mean?
Just like we learned last year, we just missed the playoffs for the seventh time in 9 seasons.
But this is the greatest comparison. You mean to tell me Michael can't wave a magic wand and get what he wants? It doesn't work.
Gone now.
I'm Michael Jordan.
It just doesn't happen. But to get back to it, with Toronto being a perennial power in the Eastern Conference, they have a lot more pull. Whoever the owner is, and it's more prevalent in the NFL. But if you're a winning franchise, hey, look, we're not going to be hurt either way. So if you really want to get rid of Buddy, hey, take this and go on your merry way. We don't have that type of staying power. So once again, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse here, but I'm glad they didn't make the deal because, especially now, another thing. We have crapped on, and I'm trying to stop cussing, we've crapped on Rick Cho for the last 5 years for making these bad deals.
Yeah.
When we brought in Kupchak last season, everybody loved it. Oh, he comes from a winning background. He was in LA for X amount of years. He made this trade. He brought Gasol in, da-da-da-da-da. And Mitch, we trust. Guess what? Michael Jordan wasn't handling those trade negotiations. Mitch was. The same person who we were just praising less than a year ago was the same person handling the trade conversations with Mitch. So now we're taking shots at Mitch. Why are we not trusting Mitch?
Well, let me speak to the particulars of that deal. Well, first of all, if you're not a part of the Hornets fan base, if you're not complaining, number one, but that's me. But those details of that trade, MKG, Biyombo, protected first round pick. Now, if it's MKG, Biyombo, you do that deal in a heartbeat. You don't even think about it. Now, that first round pick, this is just a personal belief. It's not a report. It's not anything I've read. I wholeheartedly believe Mitch Kupchak has some real solid plans with that first round pick this June because of our situation. Yeah. Because of our cap situation, because of our Kemba situation. I've said it 50 million times. There is so much you can do when you offer a team that first round pick. If we make that trade, if we make that Gasol trade, then come June, we are even more handicapped than we already are. Mitch Kupchak himself came on WFZ and said, sometimes the best trades are the ones you don't make. I 110% agree in this particular scenario. I know it may have upset Kemba. Hopefully it didn't upset him to the point where he's like, screw you guys, I'm out of here. Hopefully that's not the case. But again, man, you just don't handicap your future just by chasing a 6 seed.
And again, in addition to them not going through with the trade for the sake of the first round draft pick, I'm glad we didn't give up all of that for a 34-year-old Marc Gasol. Granted, he is still able to contribute, but he is 34 years old and he has a lot of miles on those legs. So,
$25 million expiring deal though.
No, but again, if it's just MKG Biyombo, again, you do that deal in a second.
Yeah.
You just don't. I completely understand why Mitch just didn't want to part with that first round pick. I do.
Speaking of this summer,
Oh boy.
our friend Vince posted something in our Hornets group with Rick Barnell writing an article on Nick Batum, and it received nasty replies.
I'm
so
shocked.
Don't be shocked. so that got us thinking: what does Nicholas Batum have to do to justify his contract in Charlotte, or is it possible?
okay,
Like,
I'm
what's going
gonna.
on?
Okay, you guys know I like to bring stats to the conversation. Okay, so I'm gonna throw out some stats right now and let you guys know. Okay, so
I think I need a drink.
we all will need a drink after I post these stats right quick. Okay,
God.
so Nick Batum, who plays the 2 and the 3, I went and looked up his stats this year. And even though the 3 is his natural position, I did some stats on the other shooting guards, and I'll explain later as to why I did so, okay? But I went to, I think, NBA.com, and I looked at all the stats from all the shooting guards here in the league from the last year. Okay, when it comes to points per game, these are your top 5 averages, and I rounded these numbers to the nearest whole number. These are your top 5 averages this year, okay? James Harden, who I really don't think should be classified as a shooting guard, but another conversation. James Harden averaged 36 points per game this season. Devin Booker, 27. Bradley Beal, 26. Donovan Mitchell, 24. And Zach LaVine averaged 24 points a game. Nick Batum averaged 9 points a game. Nick Batum, shooting guard, averaged 9 points a game. Let me continue. Let's look at the assists, okay? Top 5 assist shooting guards, okay? Drew Holiday averaged 8 assists this season. James Harden tied him with 8 as well. Devin Booker, 7. Bradley Beal, 6. Lou Williams averaged 5 assists.
Off the bench.
Because Lou Williams comes off the bench and averaged 5 assists this year. Nick Batum averaged 3 assists this season. Okay? I'm going to give you guys one more stat, okay? Rebounds.
Is there no beer around here?
These are your top 5 rebounding shooting guards in the league right now. It goes James Harden, Victor Oladipo, Jeremy Lamb, Brandon Ingram, and Buddy Hield. It goes from 7 to 5, and then Nick Batum actually averaged 5 rebounds. So he's kind of there with the top shooting guards. And then JJ Reddick averaged 18 points per game to Nick Batum's 9. JJ Reddick comes off the bench, y'all. JJ Reddick comes off the bench and averaged 18 points per game this year. Now, I told you earlier that I went with shooting guard as opposed to small forward, and here's why. I went and looked at the top 5 scoring small forwards this season, and here are the top 5. I'm just going to give you the names. Paul George, LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, Kevin Durant, and DeMar DeRozan. Yeah, we're okay. Now, even with that, Nick Batum, when it comes to small forwards, was 28 on their list, points per game. I'm not even giving you guys numbers. So, to get to your question, what does Nick Batum have to do to justify his contract these last 2 seasons? He can't.
There's no way.
He can't.
There's no way.
His skill set will allow him to average a double-double. He can easily average 20 points, I think 10 rebounds and 7 or 8 assists. But the way he chooses to play, I can never see him averaging any more than 15 points a game. And I don't think he can justify his contract. So I'm sorry to go all out left field and come back with that simple no, but I don't think there's anything Nick Batum can do to justify their contract.
I'm going to counter the question with the question. I want to know what happened to him. There are players that we all know there are players who get big time contracts because they're they've had good seasons, or at least during a specific time period of that season where they performed very well. Mm-hmm. We had another guy in this franchise who had a great playoff series against the Orlando Magic. His name was Tyrese Thomas, and we threw $40 million at him because of one good playoff series. Nick Batum, that 48 win season. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but we saw Nick Batum that was a threat to have a triple-double every night. What happened to that guy? I don't want to say it's something as simple as he got paid and he quit, but it damn sure looks like he got paid and he quit.
Yeah.
And I just want to know, is it something more specific than that? To answer the question, like Vince said, at this point, I don't see it, because at worst, man, I think there's baggage.
Yeah.
I think he's sitting pretty with his money. Mm-hmm. I don't think, there's been so much thrown. I think he hears the frustration with management. He hears the frustration from the fans. He has received boos from the game. I think all of that is affecting his play on the court, and I don't think he can come back from it.
No.
I'm coming at it from a different angle. I'm coming at it from a mental angle. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know where his drive is at. That's ultimately what I'm getting at. I don't know what
makes him go.
What makes him tick?
Here's the crazy
right.
part. After that 48 win season, do we have the Olympics after that year? I know there were some world games.
Yeah, the Olympics was the next summer, I think.
And when
that summer. Yeah.
It was that summer. And you remember in that summer, because I think you posted the article, when he played for France, I think he went scoreless, like 2 or 3 games.
I forgot about that.
And here's the deal. Because he was coming off of that triple-double threat of a season every single night, he said, hey, guys, don't worry about it. We're good.
We're fine.
Charlotte, I am okay.
Right. And he hasn't been okay.
And he has not been okay.
Do y'all know that, there's like this meme that you'll see on social media every now and again. It's like a little stick figure with a stick, and he's poking like an object. Like, man, please just do something. That's Nick Batum. It's just like, man, please just give us something, man. And we had a similar situation with Boris D out here, man. I'm not trying to call out Frenchmen, man, but it's like real fans see the talent that he's had.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like this is not the Nick Batum we saw 2 seasons ago.
Yeah.
And again, man, I hate to beat a dead horse, but because casual fans are gonna say, how you give him all this money to begin with? Because he earned it.
Yeah.
And there were other teams who were willing to offer more.
Exactly. And I'm so tired of having to revisit that conversation. But I'm glad we're doing this podcast now so we can actually put stuff out on video. But for those of you that say that, one thing that will always frustrate me is that you will get the same fans who will say, Jordan only cares about his money, and we can't get an all-star because he's not willing to pay anyone.
And then Nick Batum has this contract.
But then we give Nick Batum, and we're paying out all this money to him and Marvin Williams and MKG and all this. And it kills me because they are only bad deals because the players are not playing up to expectations.
Yeah.
But at the time, each and every one of those players, they all took discounts for their current contracts. They all took this. So at the time of that, and I think we said this last week, every contract was a good contract at the time. The Golden State Warriors were wanting Nick Batum last year.
Dallas Mavericks.
Dallas was wanting, and he was going to get max had he left.
Right.
And he chose to stay here for less. So yeah, it sucks. It's revisionist history, but it only sucks because the player isn't living up to expectations.
I want to say this one last thing when it comes to like the Hornets in general. Like I went on this rant last week, and my catchphrase last week was, "Sometimes things just don't work out." That I swear to God, that is the moniker for this franchise, man. Sometimes things just don't work out, man. It's sometimes it's not even anybody's fault per se. It's just we don't know what makes Nick Batum tick, and we don't, man. And there's nothing management can do about that.
Yeah. Quick, you remember there was a Craigslist post.
Oh,
With the Nick Batum for sale. It'd be on the trash curb. I bet you the Hornets had that removed. That was hilarious.
And that goes back to Jamal's comment. I know a lot of these players, a lot of players aren't on social media because, man, sometimes we can be insensitive.
Too much.
But there is no way whatsoever that Nick Batum is waking up and going to work every day and not seeing some of the stuff that is mixed. I know, Kemba is by far one of the best teammates you could possibly have in all sports from what we've seen.
Right.
But you would not be able to sit here and tell me with a straight face that Kemba Walker didn't see that crazy post and went home and laughed his ass
like, you see this beat? You see this? Yo, this is so funny, yo.
And Kimba's brother is very heavy on Twitter. Like, I know they've had to laugh about that. And then how do you? Okay, and again, Jamal's talked about the mental aspect, and I know we're staying on this topic for a while, but Jamal talked about the mental aspect. Put yourself in Nick Batum's shoes. You see that Craigslist post.
Right.
How do you come to work the next day? And then,
I come to work, man. I come to work like I signed a $120 million contract. I do not care.
And look, man, and needless to say, man, some fans forget sometimes that these people are human beings.
They are,
yeah. But at the same time, man, it's just like, how do you not feel all that?
And I'm at a point right now where, Nick just averaged 9 points per game, right? Mm-hmm. I'm at a point right now where if Nick was to shoot twice as many shots as whatever his number would be, if he stayed at 9 points, I would be okay with that, relatively speaking, simply because he's being aggressive. Yeah. How do you see that crazy post and not go out the next game and shoot the ball 30 times? Hey, as soon as I cross the half-court line,
and look, I'm going to go back to this one more time, and I hate to, man. I remember Paul Silas. It's like you can see the exasperation on his face because he used to tell Boris Diaw, like, we need you to shoot the ball. We do not have any scores on this team. Shoot. True story. I went to a Den Bobcats game, and I sat maybe 3 rows behind the Hornets bench. And this is the season I hate mentioning, but this is bringing home a point. Boris Diaw, he's 18, like maybe 10 feet from the basket. Wide open shot. Passes the ball. Silas calls a timeout. Boris walks back. Boris, shoot the damn ball! I say all that to say, I know they think that about Nick Batum. They have to. I know Borrego has looked at Nick Batum and was like, what do we need to do to get you to be more aggressive, man? And it just goes back to that thing again, man.
And I'm going to close this out by saying this. In 2.5 years or 2 years, when Nick Batum signs with the Spurs, and we see a revitalized Nick Batum, I'm not saying shit because Pop is a genius. But
we're gonna wonder why.
We're gonna wonder why.
And that statement, that sentiment, is why I don't want to get rid of Malik Monk.
Because you just see the same thing happening.
Because he will lead, and he'll be averaging 25 points a game, and in 2 decades from now, he'll be releasing some shoes with the Charlotte Hornet colors in it. Like, you could have had me. But we'll talk about that later, because I could go about that all day.
All right, we're going to jump into our back-to-back winning season segments and jump into the Panthers. The schedule was released Tuesday, Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Yep.
And a couple things to take away from it. We have no primetime games. We have a London game this year.
Yeah.
What are you most excited about with the schedule?
Okay. I want to ask a question before we start talking about the schedule.
Shoot.
Did y'all see the Panthers Twitter account and how they released
it?
Hey,
man. Look, their Panthers media Twitter account. Y'all are A1. There is nobody in the NFL better at... Listen, man, whoever that media person is for the Panthers, you are the best in the NFL, hands down, man. Dude.
Man, that thing was...
It's awesome, man.
You need to give that person a raise. Yeah. I'm advocating today.
Okay, so we started Twitter. So we can get that out the way.
Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't really have too much to... As far as the primetime games, I'm not really going to have a big stink about the primetime games because even though our record speaks contrary, I don't think we performed too well. And
I think that's an understatement.
The reason why I say that is because I mentioned this last season in one of the groups that we're in, and somebody came back and was like, actually, our record is pretty good in prime time. And I didn't bother to go back and look at all of the games, but at least I know recently in primetime games we don't do too good. So I don't care about the whole oh my God we're not playing. I don't care about that. It's best not to have a spotlight on you. The one thing that, and before I get to my prediction, the one thing that I don't like about the schedule, I don't like the London game. And
really,
I don't like.
I think you're in the minority, but
I probably will. But and here's the reason why. I understand that the NFL cares about their money and they're trying to globalize and they're trying to bring more people. I get that.
Right.
But unlike basketball, football fans, we only get 8 games. We only get 8 games here at home.
Good point.
So while it's dope that we're going to London, or they're going to London, I'll be there in spirit. While it's dope that they're going to London to play, we go from 8 to having only 7 games. Here, home games.
Well, but that's technically a Tampa home game. Yeah, so.
Oh, I didn't know it was a Tampa home game. Okay, it doesn't affect us this season, but going forward, you know, whoever the home team is, that fan base loses. Yeah. And we only get to see them 8 times a year. Right. And it's Tampa. Right. They're not going to the playoffs, so they don't get to see them any other time. So like they go 7. So. That's my one hang up. And then it's a Sunday game, right? It's a Sunday game?
9:30 a.m.
9:30 a.m. on a Sunday. 9:30.
Oh, you're going to wake up and watch it. Don't even act like, it's too early.
Wake up, watch it, and do my thing by 1 o'clock.
Right.
On the street.
Now, that's cool. That's cool. The fact that we're going to have our entire day. But that's just my one hang up is because whenever you're the home team, you lose that. Gotcha. You go from just only 8 to 7.
This is neither here nor there, but I missed out on my kind of annual Tampa trip to go see my dad, which is kind of the downfall of that. But that's neither here nor there. As far as the schedule goes, and the lack of primetime games, I don't care. Going to the actual games on primetime nights are a headache. I'm going to sound like Vince now. Usually, I'm cool with fighting through traffic and all that other stuff, but a football game primetime is a headache. There's a lack of parking, and if you do park, it's $40, it's $50. The train is not in close proximity to the stadium. I don't like walking.
Hey, now it won't be like that. Cough, cough. If you move the team to the border, keep going, Jamal.
Let's not start that conversation.
Keep going, Jamal.
But anywho, man, like the lack of primetime games, man. I'm not necessarily going to miss it, man. Our record the last 2 years is probably not that good in primetime games as it is. I'm going to tell you a game that I'm personally looking forward to on our schedule. That's not a primetime game, and maybe not even a primetime matchup in most people's eyes. We actually play the Jacksonville Jaguars on October the 6th. I am actually looking forward to that game, and the reason why I always like playing the Jaguars because we came into the league at the exact same times. It is always cool to kind of have that peer that you came into the league with and stack yourself up from that same time period. Now, granted, our record against the Jaguars is pretty. I don't even remember the last time we even lost to the Jaguars, but it's been a while. It's been a while. Yeah. But I actually went to the Panthers and Jaguars game in 2015. So there's something about that matchup that I always kind of enjoy because of that reason. So that's one game I'm looking forward to. I'm actually looking forward to the London game because there's nothing more cool than waking up at 9 o'clock in the morning knowing that you got football coming on in 30 minutes, man. You can cook your good breakfast. You can just lay on your couch, halfway sleep while your Panthers are playing. Doesn't get much better than that. I wish I had enough money to actually go, but I don't. So I'll be in London in spirit, but I'll be on my couch physically and very much looking forward to it, man.
The game I'm looking forward to is the one versus the Texans because they play my Clemson boys. Hopkins and Watkins and Carlos Watkins as well. And also, I might go there. My aunt lives in Houston.
Okay.
And I'm also looking forward to the London game. I might try to make that trip.
I have.
Bro, okay.
I want to make the trip.
Now, I guess I did forget something. and I think I forgot it because it goes without saying. Dear Panthers, if y'all don't beat the Falcons this year, I'm going to lose my mind. They play the Falcons a day after my birthday on the 17th. That game is here. I'm sorry. Yes, that game is here. That game is here in Charlotte. I will be in attendance. If y'all lose that game the day after my birthday and let the Falcons beat you again, I may go on the field. Security may need to be called. I am tired of losing to the Falcons. Listen, man. Listen. Do y'all have those teams like you lose to and it makes you sick, like you don't get over it for a week? The Falcons are one of those teams, man. Please don't.
And let me push off on that. I don't know if you guys noticed last season, but we played the Saints and the Falcons in 3 of the last 4 games.
Yep. Right.
And this season, that's not the case.
It's not the case.
We popcorn between those seasons. Now we do get.
And I like that better.
Yeah, we do get Atlanta, New Orleans in back-to-back weeks in November, but then we get a game after the Saints game. We play Atlanta again, and then we get 2 more games before closing the season out with the Saints.
Right.
So I don't know if that was a conscious decision by the NFL, but I'm glad we're not playing those guys 3 games in a 4-week span like we did. Now we do it early in the year, but we're not closing the season out because. That was brutal last year, I know we beat the Saints, but we were playing against their practice squad,
and it was especially brutal with Cam's injuries.
Yeah, so I'm glad we're not closing the season out playing those guys 3 games out of 1 year. 3 games out of 4. But before we move on, what record predictions?
It's funny you say that. Before I give you a number, I'm gonna dance around this question. Before I give you the number, I had a random conversation with somebody at a bar last night, and he was a Cleveland Browns fan, and I told him, I said, hey man, you guys look pretty good. It's very promising this year. He's like, hey man, what about y'all? Every season with the Panthers, I say the same thing. We'll see. I never know what to predict about this team, man. That's just the honest to God truth. There is 1 year. And I have proof. I have physical proof that I can show you. I predicted the Panthers were going to the Super Bowl in 2015, and I have a screenshot that will prove that. This year, we'll see. Now, with that being said, I'm going to give you a number now.
Okay.
My number is going to, if Cam stays healthy.
Okay.
10-6.
Okay, 10-6. Rodney, what you got?
I know that was a very long answer.
No, you're good. You're good.
My number is... Don't shoot me. 7-9.
7-9. Okay, that's cool. Sure. Okay, I'm gonna give you guys kind of a same thing that kind of Jamal did. I looked at the schedule, and I think going into the bye week, I think we were gonna look just as good as we did those first 6-7 games last year. Yep. I think I have us in the bye week going 5-1 going into the bye week. We're looking at and that loss will be that first game against Los Angeles. I think we're gonna lose that game. It's the first game of the season. Yeah. We're going to go into the bye week 5-1, but then we're going to kind of taper off after.
Because we get into that brutal division schedule.
NFC South, yeah. And I think we're going to go, I got us at 8 or 9 wins.
Okay.
I got us at 8 or 9.
That's fair.
Now, I want to say this because it's kind of too early for these predictions. Mm-hmm. And we know that. We acknowledge that. Because there's so much that can we're doing this in April. We haven't had a draft yet. You know what I mean? We haven't our roster. Nobody's roster is far from set. There's so many ifs. If. Because a big if for me is if we shore up the pass rush. That is the biggest if in my opinion, which we're going to get to in a second.
Yeah.
If we do that, this team can win 12 games. If we do that. Another if, which is not the biggest, to me, in my opinion, is not as big as of if as the D-line, is the O-line. How well are we going to protect Cam Newton? Yeah. We do those 2 things, the sky is the limit, but we'll see. We'll see.
All right, the NFL draft is actually on Thursday night. The Panthers are hosting an event on Thursday at 7.
Be there.
We will be there. We hope to meet everybody that's fans.
Come out.
And we want to interview you and talk to you. So come on out. How you guys feeling about the draft? The draft is in Nashville. How you feeling about it?
Okay, so to co-sign off of what Jamal just said, I'm feeling the same. I don't know if I want them to go D-line or O-line first. I'm leaning towards D-line simply because of the lack of pressure that we got on quarterbacks last season. But if they go D or O-line, first draft, first of 2 rounds, I'm okay with that. But I've been seeing a narrative the last week or so saying that Carolina may take a quarterback in the first 1 or 2 rounds.
Oh boy!
Here's my deal.
Oh boy!
Woo! To even have that conversation is hella disrespectful to Cam Newton. I believe.
Oh, but who cares about?
But who cares about? Who cares about the
who cares about respect for your MVP quarterback?
The best quarterback you've had in your franchise. Who cares about that?
Nah, it's still on with some people.
How long does Cam Newton have on this contract?
I think 2 years. I think.
Here's the deal.
Two.
With the new contract that Russell Wilson just got, it's more than a foregone conclusion that Cam Newton will be the highest paid quarterback when this time comes. If I'm Cam Newton, and if Carolina drafts a quarterback in the first 2 rounds, I am out the effing door. I'm out the door.
Really?
I am out the door.
Because I take it another way. I'm kind of, from Cam's perspective, the way I see Cam, the way I perceive Cam, I think it'll be motivation for Cam. Cam will look at that and be like, oh, really?
I don't think Cam doesn't need the motivation. He gets enough.
He doesn't need it, but he may take it as that, but who knows?
Now, will he take that disrespect and will he go into a shell? No, he's not.
I don't think he's built like that.
Yeah, no, he's not going to do that. But if I'm Cam Newton and we need help on the line, we need help on both sides of the ball.
Right.
We have never had a legitimate wide receiver. As Carolina fans, we talk about the receivers we got, but on the grand scale, we have never had a primetime receiver. Even with Steve Smith, he got an over-the-hill Steve Smith. He got an over-the-hill Steve Smith.
I get what you're saying.
He got an over-the-hill. So with everything else that we need, if you draft a quarterback on day 1, I am out the door. I am out I am out the door.
Strong take.
It's kind of extreme.
Strong take.
The door.
I'm going to say it like this: if they don't have a winning season within the next 2 years, I think Cam is out the door regardless.
I don't think so.
I think he is, because to me that tells me he's not healthy, and I think Carolina would opt to move on because he's unhealthy, and then you got these young receivers can't get you the ball, and so you would have to move on. But honestly, I don't see him becoming.
They won't be able to win because they would have drafted a quarterback. But keep on my bad.
But also, I honestly I don't see him becoming the highest paid quarterback. This is a hot take. I don't think he's better than Russell Wilson. And Russell Wilson has won in the playoffs.
What Russell Wilson's had a top 5 defense to go along with those.
And we've had top defenses too.
Not top 5 defense.
Top 10.
Okay.
And they have receivers basically kind of on the same level.
Look, man, I hate simple arguments, but there's a simple argument with Cam and Russell. Russell has a Super Bowl, Cam doesn't.
And that's it. And as soon as
Russell should have 2.
And as soon,
I just leave it like that.
As soon because he should have gave it to that All-Pro running back in the back, which Cam has never had. But
we had a discussion the other day.
As soon as Cam Newton gets a Super Bowl, if he's fortunate enough to do so, he becomes the same, if not better, quarterback than Russell. And I say that because of his stats. It is after Russell Wilson got his contract last week, ESPN posted a graphic about his stats. And I think first 7 years in the league, I think Russell Wilson is top 3 in passing touchdowns as well as rushing yards for a quarterback. But when you put those numbers beside Cam Newton, they're literally the exact same.
I got you. But
even with their numbers being the same, it is almost universally accepted throughout the NFL that Russell Wilson is the better quarterback.
I mean, let me tell you how polarizing Cam Newton is. We were supposed to have a talk about the draft, and what are we talking about? It's so easy. It's so.
He's the. I hate to say he's the center of the Panthers universe.
It really is. It sounds extreme, but it's the truth.
And everything revolves around getting this guy help, and ultimately the defense helps the offense.
Right.
And so it all revolves around him.
Speaking of defense, now as far as taking it back to the Panthers draft and draft needs versus BPA, CBS Sports has they have a list, and this is a list of possible draft targets for the Panthers. Mm-hmm. There's 10 of these. I'm going to run off these real quick. edge rusher, Montez Sweat. Defensive line, Rashawn Gary. Edge rusher, Brian Burns for the almighty Florida State Seminoles. Edge rusher, Cleveland Flair from Clemson. Offensive tackle, Andre Dillard, Washington State. Offensive line, Jonah Williams. Offensive line, Cody Ford. D tackle, Christian Wilkins.
Clemson.
Cornerback, Byron Murphy. Defensive tackle, Dexter Lawrence. Speaks to my point. You either protect. This has to be a draft where you have to address protecting Cam Newton, or you have to get to the opposing team's quarterback. If you look at those possible
and before, even with the line that we had last year, before Cam Newton showed signs that he was hurt, I don't really remember him getting hit that much behind the line. I think he still was able to get the ball off like he wanted to, even though his arm was messed up. He was thrown in the dirt.
Yeah, until TJ Watt ended the season. But
and I think that strengthens the argument that you have to go defensive line first, and then come back and go offensive line.
Yeah, I agree.
But if they take a quarterback,
even if you to me, if you take a quarterback in the first 3 rounds. You build your roster off the first 3 rounds, and to me, I understand you take a quarterback in the 4th or 5th round, but those first 3 rounds, you need to build your team. You let a whole lot of veterans go.
But here's how old is Cam Newton?
Cam Newton is about 30.
He's about 30. So with him now keep in mind. Your boy Tom Brady is 57 years old. Okay, so using that as a measuring stick, if you protect Cam Newton, he still has another. I'll be realistic and say 7 years of football left. Realistically, so if you draft a quarterback on day 1, you're taking a pretty doggone good player, and you're sitting him on the bench for half a decade plus. And that's kind of how I'm looking at it. So
that's a good point. However, I'm glad you spoke to that. God forbid this team drafts Will Greer within the first 3 rounds. Listen, man.
That's the favorite
man. We're all Carolina Panthers fans, but we all know there's a part of this fan base, boy. When it comes to talk about Cam Newton, man, it's like every opportunity to be negative, they will take it. Lord forbid we take Will Greer. Oh my God. Listen, you want to talk about distraction? I'm gonna say something very bold that nobody else is gonna say. This is gonna sound like this. I'm gonna sound like a lunatic. We draft Will Greer. It would be more of a distraction if we would have got Colin Kaepernick. Ooh. Yes, I said it. I said it on Easter Sunday. I said it. Yes. I see what you mean. If we draft Will Greer within the first 3 rounds, it would be that big of a distraction. At least locally. I'll clean it up a little bit. At least locally in Charlotte. Maybe not so much nationally.
He's from the area
exactly.
Too.
Maybe not so much nationally. I'll clean it up a little bit. So.
Okay. All right.
Most
polarizing player in the league.
Yeah, I said it.
All right.
Moving on.
The MLS is eyeing Charlotte, and Tepper has been having conversations with them. Recently, they had their league meetings last week, and they're looking to add the 29th to 30th franchise, and Charlotte has basically come up as a leader. How are we feeling about that? Are we excited? Are we sad because MLB's not coming, or what do we do?
Let me go first with this, man. Look, man, I feel a couple of ways about this. I'm pro MLB guy. I want MLB before soccer, and I know I'm probably in the minority.
Majority.
I mean,
yeah, you're in the majority.
MLS is it's younger, it's more trendy, it's trending upward. You know what I mean? And I get it, man. But again, I prefer MLB. But as far as MLS coming to Charlotte, man, It looks more likely every time you read about it. Yeah. Every time you read about it, looks more and more of a real possibility, man. And if I think I know David Tepper like everybody else does, man, he's gonna really aggressively pursue this thing, man. And I think he wants that younger crowd. He wants. One thing we all love about David Tepper, he wants to build Charlotte's profile nationally, and the MLS coming to Charlotte is a perfect way to do that, man. Even though I'm still holding out hope that a baseball team and my stadium will be built in Valentine like I think it should be. But I digress.
Your best
again,
of his
There's a few things that came to my mind when I saw this. I first seen it on Twitter, and the lady who posted the Twitter, she put in a tweet that Tepper was was the richest owner in the NFL. I didn't know that. I didn't know he had gonads like that.
Yeah.
Like So and that's neither here nor there, but I just wanted to throw that out there that
word has it he has real steel gonads on his desk.
And who knows? The legend of David Tepper grows. Literally, huh? But it makes me wonder what was the dynamic that he had, because he was co-owner of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Right.
So what was the dynamic that they had in Pittsburgh? Because with all the things that he's doing here, like, is Pittsburgh that great of a city? Are they doing some of the same stuff up there? Go ahead.
Let me speak to that. Let me just say I don't think so. I think it's needless to say Pittsburgh is probably not just built like Charlotte. And I think again, man, I'm just kind of going off what I believe, but I just believe that I think David Tepper's role is obviously different here. It's obvious because
of course,
principal.
With the Steelers, he was a voice, but he was a head honcho in charge, and probably handicapped him as far as implementing some of his ideas to put in Pittsburgh. He's in Charlotte. He's the man, and I'm thinking David Tepper's like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I finally get to. It was probably one of those situations where he had all these ideas in his head, but because of him not being the name, so to speak, in Pittsburgh, and coming from that, now being the guy, he's like, I got so many things I can do now, so many things I want to do that I can do, and Charlotte, the what's the word I'm looking for, man? The dynamic of Charlotte, we're getting younger. 27 people are moving here per day. One of the fastest growing cities in Charlotte, man. So it's just like he has the perfect canvas to implement all these great new young ideas that he has, man. So.
Yeah, and in regards to Major League Soccer being more of a conversation, I really don't have anything on that other than what I've said in the previous weeks. But I think it's a good deal. I think it would serve the city and the county better than MLB because of stuff like Jamal said, typically because they have a younger crowd.
Gotcha.
So the crowd will grow with it. But I mean, at the end of the day, once again, kudos to David Tepper. He's doing all of these things that look very elementary, but we didn't get from the previous owner. So,
quick question: so, the MLS comes, we going to the games?
I would. Most certainly.
I'm going to the games more so
experience
supporting the culture. So,
Gotcha.
but now here's the deal. I tried watching soccer back in the day, and if you watch it, like one of the good things about soccer, you can actually learn the game simply by watching the game. You don't really have to look it up. It's confusing as hell, but the more you watch it, you'll learn it. But there's something that just keeps fighting with me when I see a bunch of guys running up and down the field for 90 minutes, and you only score like 3 points per down. I mean, why did it matter? So, like, I know the purists will probably be looking at me and ready to chop my head off.
Yeah.
But I mean, and like they actually celebrate how many times they took a shot at scoring. And like it's like you'll see a stat that like, and my bad, I'm gonna let you you'll see a stat, it'll say something like, okay, the score is 2-1, but one team has been celebrated because they took 30 shots on goal. Okay, so you just went 2 for 30. We're celebrating that? Like
Vince, let me tell you what you sound like. Vince, you sound like, okay, you know how you like have basketball conversations and somebody's like, man, how come Michael Jordan can't go get LeBron? That's how you sound. And it's okay, man. And I'm going to speak to your point. Like, to answer your question, I would go as a casual fan. I'm not going to break my neck to go to every single game. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm not going to look at the schedule like, oh, man, I got to hurry get off work so I can go to this MLS game. I'm going to be a casual fan, man. And that's perfectly fine. Long as you tag yourself as a casual fan. You can't be like Vince and be at the game and be like, man, how come they going 2 for 30? Because the soccer players going to look at you like, why are you here?
I understand the defense. I understand the defense.
This is how Vince sound. Man, how come Kemba just don't shoot every time he comes in the show?
Wait. We don't celebrate bad shoot like okay with Kobe Bryant. Remember Kobe Bryant's final game? He put up like 60 points, right? But it took like 100 shots. We don't celebrate. We celebrate the points. But we don't celebrate him jacking up 50 shots to get it.
I'm not even going to pretend like I know anything about soccer, but I know how much of a casual fan you sound like. I'm
just saying, bro. Can we increase those?
I look, man, there's one soccer dude that's going to watch this today and be like, man, what is this dude talking about, man? Like, y'all don't know nothing about soccer. We don't know anything about soccer.
Look. The International Cup is in July at Bank of America Stadium. I propose a field trip, and we're gonna have a conversation with Tyler
as a learning opportunity.
We're trying to enter your world.
Yeah, right. Teach us something.
What does that mean?
Right.
All right, we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on to our culture segment. On a little more serious note,
a lot more serious
note. There was a CMPD involved shooting at Burger King on Beatty'sford Road on the 25th of March, involving the young man Aquarius Franklin. He tragically passed away, and there was some controversy with the released tapes. And you guys want to kind of talk about your feelings on that?
I'll go first because it's the neighborhood that I know and love. It's the neighborhood I grew up in. I've been in that Burger King I don't know how many times after West Charlotte football games and just in general, man. So this is near and dear to my heart, and this is literally and figuratively close to me, man. I have so many feelings about this, and at the end of the day, it's another African-American man killed by the police for whatever reason. I'm going to say something that may be unpopular, and man, people may not like it, but I just believe it has to be said, and I do have more to say, so just don't take this statement and run with it, man. I have to say this, man. One of the first things I thought was, why are you in Burger King with a gun? Like, for what reason did you have to go to Burger King with a gun? And for whatever reason, people saw that gun. The rumor is, we this is unsubstantiated. We don't know for sure, but the rumor is he had a girlfriend who was messing with another guy, and he went in there with a gun for whatever reason. And I have to ask again, was that a good reason to go into Burger King with the gun? You are a black man in a black neighborhood going into a public place with a gun. Either way, you have got to know it is not going to end in a good situation. Now, moving on from that statement and to talk about the actual event that took place. The video was posted, as we all know. I watched the video, and I'm mad at myself for watching the video because it is highly disturbing. It's a highly disturbing video that I kind of wish I wouldn't have watched, but at the same time, to understand the context of the story, it was probably necessary as well. It's from a black man's perspective, man. It's I just don't understand why police, why authorities always have the biggest issue with de-escalating tense issues with African American males. Not to say that Mr. Franklin was 100%, innocent in all this, but the question. This is also another question that has to be asked. Why is it always so tough to de-escalate situations with us and police authority? We've seen so many examples and so many times of white males who have weapons, who have done way worse things, who have been taken to Burger King after they've done them, who have been taken alive. There's another story that, and I don't even care about the entire details at the moment, but there's another story of another white male shooting 7 policemen and being taken alive.
Killing 2 of them.
Now we have Aquarius Franklin, and people can debate this all day long. To me, maybe it hardly matters. We all heard him say, "But you told me to. But you told me to put the gun down." If you look at the video, whatever your eyes see, because I don't know if people may be in denial, people may see something different. It appears he is trying to put the gun down. One thing that I have been thinking about this entire week, again, he put himself in that position, but at the same time, I cannot imagine the fear going through the fear he had with a gun being pointed at him, and you're looking at the gun at you, and you're trying to do the right thing. It's easy for anybody to say, "Man, how come he just didn't put the gun down?" He was trying to put the gun down. You're in a situation where you just can't move. Let me say this. I want to tell everybody this. I have had a gun pointed at me by the police before. It is not a pleasant experience. You don't know what to do. I'm lucky to be sitting here today to talk about it. I don't know what could have happened on the plaza back in 1995, because I remember it. It's another situation where it's something we got to talk about. I ended there, man.
I honestly don't know what to say about this situation, but one of my biggest frustrations with the narrative of this situation right now is that this country has gotten so used to African American men being gunned down and killed by the police that the reaction isn't even the same anymore.
You feel like, I don't mean to cut you off, you feel like we're numb?
Yeah, I feel like we've gotten numb and we've gotten desensitized to it.
Right.
When Trayvon Martin and when Michael Brown was killed all those years ago, I mean, we were pissed. We were pissed the hell off. And, some of us demonstrated, and some of us were on Facebook and y'all, and some of us were talking to, city councils. And now it's like we see it and we take 2 seconds to kind of like take a deep breath and we just put our heads out, and then we move. Like the energy isn't the same.
It's like the energy has been sucked out of us.
And the response is go talk to the politician, because just last year, when during the voting and all that, we're always told to go vote for people who share your interests, because it's going to be those who fight for your interests. But to kind of get off subject, we have the RNC coming here next month. And that was a perfect opportunity for the mayor to take a stand and say no. And she chose not to, for lack of better words. So as far as hearing Charlotte...
And let's be clear, there's some members of city council who who also sharing the blame of that as well. So, yeah.
And especially here in Charlotte, I don't even feel like we can go and talk to the politicians here, because it's like they don't even... If you guys have watched some of the videos, the police chief as well as the mayor, the mayor spoke as if she didn't even know what was going on. The police chief, and I'm trying not to say their names, but the police chief, he constantly speaks of transparency, but we constantly don't get transparency. And it is painfully obvious in his voice that he does not care about the people that he is supposedly sworn to protect. His job is to protect those officers. And that is what I see every time I watch or hear a soundbite from him.
And look, and if nobody else is going to say it, it's incredibly frustrating that a black man was doing it.
There is a black man. Agreed.
Right. And another big thing to me is, this is what makes me upset. The news, the people that deserve requested this video come out. And this goes into the transparency piece with the police department. They requested the full video come out.
Right.
They only released 3 minutes.
Right.
Yeah.
Where's your transparency in that?
Where's your transparency? Because there was a full 13 minutes of the video, 12, 13 minutes of the video. So this goes back to all the way to the Jonathan Farrow situation.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
You implemented the cops and barbers. You implemented these different programs within the community where you're speaking with the people. So for you to come back and not release the documents that the court requested, told you to release, you were supposed to release, it's setting you back. Like how am I as a citizen to trust you to be transparent when you don't release the full video?
And let me add to something you said about all these programs that they release to connect with the community. Me personally, I don't care for none of that stuff because I don't want you coming in my neighborhood smiling at me each and every single day saying, hey, we are good people. And then on Tuesday you go out and kill someone unjustly, get paid administrative leave, and then get back pay when you come back. When I see this story on social media and I see so many people saying that these officers need training, they need to be taught de-escalation techniques. No, they don't need more training. They don't need this because they have proven, like Jamal said, time after time again, they have proven a great level of restraint in different scenarios. And there's a situation in, I want to say May. This happened about 2 years ago. There was an armed white man with a gun, and there was a police officer who was a former Marine. And this armed white man, I don't think he had a gun, I think he had a knife. And he was charging the police officer, and he was saying that you're going to have to kill me. You're going to have to kill me. The police officer was backpedaling. He said, I don't want to shoot you, brother. I don't want to kill you. He fell to the ground. I can't remember how the situation ended, but it was de-escalated. The guy went to jail. The officer didn't kill him, any of that good stuff. Now, unfortunately, that police officer actually got fired for not shooting that individual. So, another conversation. But in so many situations, police officers have shown the necessary restraint to take an armed individual alive. So when I hear that de-escalation technique and that additional training, that's BS. That's BS. And one last thing I kind of want to put out, I have friends who are cops. I have family who are in law enforcement. One thing that I have yet to see other officers calling out these bad apples. And if you're an officer who does good, and there's some good cops out there, if you're doing what you're supposed to do, but you are not calling out your fellow brothers and sisters or boys or however you want to say that, you're just as complicit as far as I'm concerned. And I'm just frustrated.
And I got one more.
I'm just tired.
I got one more thing. Isn't North Carolina open carry?
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
It's an open carry. It's an open. Now, I don't even agree with open carry. I actually just took a gun class about a month ago, and the instructor went into great detail what it means to be an open. We need to get rid of that. Open carry literally means you go to the gun store and you buy you a gun. You have no gun training. Like, wow. We need to get. There's no certification. None of that. You don't have to go to the gun range and learn how to shoot and handle your holster. Like, we need to get rid of open carry.
Man, look, I'll be very candid about this. This is not even the topic I want to spend a bunch of time on.
Yeah.
I'm so over it and so frustrated and so angry about it. The last thing I want to say about this is the same people who will wave the Constitution in your face and the right to bear arms, those will be the same people who will tell you, well, why do you have a gun? It holds no weight.
Yeah,
I'm sick of it, man.
Yeah, I mean, and once again, I mean, we're beating a dead horse. We're all three African American men. We have somehow, some way figured out how to successfully navigate the.
Let me repeat, and I've had a gun pointed at me by the police before.
Yeah. So, congratulations on making it this far. Right. But I mean, it's like honestly, what do we do? I mean, do we jump into politics or I mean, do we become activists? Like, what do we do?
The only thing we could do is what we're doing now.
Talk about it, and put it out there,
That's it.
And hope and influence the next generation.
Yeah.
Hope the narrative change. Legendary Shoutout team, TJ Reddy passed away.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on his passing?
I'll take the reins on this because this is a topic I wanted to discuss. Okay, so before last week, I had no idea who TJ Reddy was. I seen a post by one of the media outlets here in Charlotte. And I went and did some research, and apparently TJ Reddy was a part of what they call the Charlotte 3.
Yeah.
Now, are you familiar with it?
I'm from the Lazy Five Ranch.
Okay, yeah. So apparently they wanted to ride horses or something.
Right. A little bit of background. I'm gonna let you go, but I'll take the picture, man.
From what I've learned, they wanted to ride horses.
Right.
They were told no.
Right.
So allegedly, they came back and they killed X amount of horses and burned them. And
word is they burned the ranch down, but
yeah. And because of that, the 3 of them got sentenced to jail. And there was this huge uprising, and everyone was like, BS, BS, BS. And in
1972 or 4
something, the then, was it governor?
1979. It was
1979.
Martin, I think.
No, it was Jim Hunt. Jim Hunt. He commuted all 3 sentences because I guess they were like falsely accused. And TJ Reddy, at the end of the day, he was a poet. He was an artist. He was an activist, and apparently he did a lot of good for the community. The biggest reason why I wanted to bring this up is because I wanted to highlight how I am sick and tired of learning about so many impactful African Americans after they die.
Right.
After they die.
Right.
And I don't know how we can go about finding out who else has done what in the community, in the country, but I'm just so tired of scrolling, and it's like Charlotte's first ever black representative died.
Right.
It's like, damn, why didn't I know this before he died?
Right.
And that's the big. I just want to bring some light to that.
No, and honestly, Vince, you stole all my thunder, man. So it's kind of tough for me to follow that, but because my first thought when you brought this conversation up was there are so many people. There are way too many people who didn't know about him. Again, I'm going to repeat a lot of same things you said because you stole a lot of my thunder, which is fine, man. But I actually had the pleasure of meeting him one time, probably over 10 years ago at the Harvard Gas Center, man. And the thing that always the thing that kind of aggravated me about the way people describe him as a radical. He was a radical activist. He was radical. Look, by definition, if he was a radical, we need more radicals because he was one of the very, and you have to take into effect the time period at the event with the Lazy Five Ranch, and again, we were way too young to even remember or we didn't live it. But at the time all this was going on, you got to understand, Charlotte was looked at as this kind of progressive New South city at the time that all of this happened. But you still had a segment of the population, mainly black folks, who did not feel that was the case. TJ Reddy was one of those people who were telling everybody it's not as progressive as you think it is. Man, it's funny how history repeats itself. I'll just leave it at that. But to wrap this all up, man, I can talk about this a long time, and I won't, but way too many people who did not know about TJ Reddy, his impact in the city. And this last thing I'll say, he does leave a very long lasting legacy with his artwork and his impact in the art community. As y'all know, I have a ton of friends and a ton of peers who are in the same art community who knows who TJ Reddy is. They can tell you his impact and what it means to them. So rest in peace, and I wish more people knew who he was.
My condolences to your family. Rest in peace. Much love.
Same.
All right. Is this familiar? I'm gonna take my horse down the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. Got the horses in the back. All right, let's get into this. So there was basically, is this a country song or is this a hip hop song? This is a debate going on. Davey said the song is fucking trash. What are your thoughts and opinions?
I don't even know why I asked y'all to let's talk about it. I just know it's a topic.
I don't like you right now, man.
So here's my thoughts on the song. Okay, I don't like the backstory of how this. Now the song was actually done as a joke. The kid was born. One day. He was like, "Hey, I'm gonna make this country song right now." And
what a shock!
And why did I even want to speak about this?
I don't know.
Because it's having a huge impact on and like I'm seeing a lot of country fans completely trashed this song. And I think it's funny because as the hip hop community, we are so welcoming of so much bullcrap, of so much trash when it comes musically.
Post Malone.
And I think
Thank you, Rodney.
looking at all these, and now you
Hey,
got
breaking news. One time me and Rodney.
y'all agree musically, huh? But here's the deal. When I first heard the song, I didn't like it. And I can't even tell you why I didn't like it. I just didn't like it. But I've listened to it a few times. There's a video on Twitter. There's a HBCU. I want to say in Bama that they're outside rocking to it. They're jamming to it. The song is catchy.
It is.
The song is catchy, and the video is catchy too. That goes with the song.
Yeah, it's catchy like a commercial.
Oh my God.
Now here's my deal. Initially, when the song came out and it hit the country music charts, they took it out because they said it didn't qualify as a country song. But then he went and got Billy Ray Cyrus to do the remix, and that was a country song. So what about how adding him? What happened that made that a country song all of a
Stir the
sudden?
mayonnaise in the pot.
Wow.
Sorry, I didn't mean to say that. I like the song. I like it's something different.
Yeah.
Something we've never heard before. The kid is having fun. He's not going to be around in 6 months. It's something fun. Like if it was like a Tekashi, I'd have been upset. Like, no, get this crap off the radio. But I mean, the kid is having fun.
And we've had crossovers before.
That's what I'm saying.
We've had multiple, and there's actually, I think, 1 or 2 African American legit country music singers.
Rucker,
and within country music, I mean, they're huge, but I can't tell you who they are right now. There's another one other than Rucker. So for somebody to actually commercialize it and actually bridge that gap, I'm loving this right now, bro.
I love it.
I'm loving this right now. Call me McDonald's.
Put us all up on the country chart. We excel at everything. Put us all on it. Come on, Sir Hater. Let's say your opinion, Sir Hater.
Are y'all done?
Come on, hip hop, Sir Hater.
Are y'all done?
Let's go.
Okay.
Let's go.
First and foremost, number 1, change your name immediately. It is a disrespect to Nas to have Nas in your name. That is a disrespect to hip hop for this trash dude to have Nas as a part of his stage name. Change your name immediately. That's number 1. Number 2, man, I'm getting sick and tired of people getting raked over the coals for just stating their opinion. Davies was 1,000% correct. That song is absolute trash. And why are people mad at Davies for telling the truth? You're messing up, man. You're messing up our props.
You know, wait. And here's the deal. Here's the deal. I'm a Dave East fan, but you know why I'm upset at Dave East for trashing this song? Because there's video of Dave East singing the song.
I didn't know that.
In support.
I didn't know that.
In support.
That changes my opinion.
So it's like, why are you being so hypocritical about it?
Now that changes my opinion.
Let me tell you what Davies was thinking. He's like, yo, this song number 1. Don't like my shit. I ain't never heard no Davies song on the radio.
I saw something on Twitter because one of my followers on Twitter retweeted it, and because Davies said the song was trash, and he retweeted that tweet and said, "Quick, somebody name a Dave East track." I wish I could have reached through the phone and punched him one side. Because if you don't know any Dave East tracks, it's because you don't follow me. It's because you don't follow him.
Hey, look,
boring to me.
Look, listen, man.
You can't call Dave East boring if you're a J. Cole fan, though. And I'm a fan of both. I'm a fan, so I can say that. I'm a fan of both.
That's another conversation for another day.
Listen, man. This is something I can talk about all day because to me, it speaks to the state of hip hop and music. Damn it, I said it. Yes.
Oh man.
Look, man. I'm not even gonna talk about hip hop. I'm gonna keep this short because I could go on about this all day. I want music to go back to a place where we don't have to rely on damn commercial jingles for it to be successful, man. I want people who actually have talent to be seen and heard again. Not somebody who was sitting in their damn room and recorded a damn Instagram video. It's like, oh man, I got this country hip hop jingle that I'm sick of it, man.
You know
when are we gonna start promoting talent again?
But for that same reason is why I love it. Because in my opinion, rap hip hop is the most disrespected musical genre out there, and to see somebody else do to another genre what has happened to hip hop over the last 20 years, I am worried.
Okay, I get that, man. It's all fun and games until this little joker gets nominated for a Grammy. It's all fun and games.
I don't watch the Grammy. I don't care.
The point I'm trying to make is when stuff. Look, man, the point I'm trying to get at. When stuff like that starts getting taken seriously, and guys like Dave East and guys who are really, truly perfected their craft start getting ignored, it ain't so fun no more. Because now we're gonna have the male version of Cardi B. Why is he still around? I digress. I don't want Little Nas, whatever his name is. 10 years from now, we sitting here like, man, Little Nas just came out with... No, man. I'm sick and tired of untalented people being made famous. I'm sick of it. That song is trash, and Dave East was right.
Cardi B does have a talent.
What?
Oh, no.
She'll take you home. Get you drunk around.
All right, so, hey guys, we're going to move into our shout-out segment. You want to give your first
shout-out? I'm going to give my first shout-out. Let me shout out to the NBA playoffs. LeBron James isn't in it. The ratings are down 30%. But god dang it, these are some good playoffs. Some good series. I love the Sixers and the Nets beefing. I love the Westbrook versus Lillard narrative. I just love the whole playoffs.
Can I say why I love it for this reason? I love the fact that I can go on Facebook and I don't see any LeBron James talk. It is wonderful. It is so wonderful.
It is.
The LeBron fanboys have nowhere to go.
No, and it's deeper than LeBron. The Laker fans, the Cavs fans, and the Heat fans are all
gone.
dead. It is beautiful.
It is a beautiful thing to see, man. It's like real basketball fans have their discussions back. It's like pure. It's so pure. Like, I don't give a damn about those ratings being down 30%, man. It's like real basketball fans can discuss other things other than LeBron and the Lakers, and it is a beautiful thing.
It is absolutely beautiful.
That is my shout out. And also, have a productive week coming from Rodney.
All right. Okay, so my shout out is gonna go out to the people. So it's what people are starting to call now the free agency of college basketball, and basically what that means is you got players deciding whether or not they're going to go pro, or you got a lot of players deciding whether or not they're going to transfer. And obviously now we're in the age of the one and dones, and Zion Williamson just declared that he's going to go to the NBA, which I 1,000,000,000% support. My shout out goes out to all those people who get upset when a kid decides to go pro because they want him to stay in school.
Shout it out.
Here's my deal. If I break my leg, I can't play basketball for another year and a half, depending on my situation. If I break my leg and my right toe and my pinky finger and I go deaf in my right ear, I can still go to school. If I'm 40 years old, I can't play in the NBA. If I'm 73, I can still go to school. So what I don't understand from this demographic of people is, why do you get so upset when these players decide to pursue their lifelong dream of going to the NBA? But at the same time, you force them to go to school with their hand tied behind their back. There's a kid who was a kicker. We talked about this at was it UCF or USF?
UCF.
It was at UCF in Central Florida, and he had a YouTube channel that he had been running since he was a kid in high school. And once he got into college, he got to a point to where he was able to monetize the channel, and the NCAA stepped in and it was like, hey, you either get rid of this channel or you give up playing football. And he gave up football so he can keep his channel going.
Don't blame him one bit.
But here's the deal. If the three of us go to school right now on academic full-ride scholarships and we start making money off of this channel, nobody bats an eye. Nobody bats an eye. Right. But we hold these athletes to
same standard,
whatever higher standard. So shut up. Like I'm not even gonna try and go on some just shut up because it's dumb as hell. It's dumb. And here's what kills me. We see these memes all the time where some guy gets his college degree at the age of 60, and the response behind it, it's never too old, it's never too late. You can go to school. Right. You can go to school at 60. You can buy that house at 40. It's never too late to do whatever. Right. So why do we get upset when these 18-year-old kids say, hey, you know what? Let me go make $7 million a year. You know what I'm saying? Why do we get upset at that? You know, selfishness. I'm done.
Selfishness.
My shout out goes to some of my friends in the arts community or people who throw different events, whatever. Some names I'll throw out. Shout out to Blues, who is our Charlotte Hornets hype man. So, Blues, thank you for the shout out you gave me last night, man. Those words are very encouraging. Shout out to Jay-Z Addict. Shout out to Lonnie. Shout out to Ja Freedom. All these people, if you don't know who they are, please search them on social media. They throw some very dope events that I don't think enough people know about. So I just want to specifically shout out these people in the community who are providing Charlotte with an alternative to maybe the basic nightlife Charlotte has, in my opinion. But again, shut up, Rodney. But shout out to those people. And again, shout out to people who have liked the page, who have shared the page, who have subscribed to the YouTube channel. If you haven't done so, please do that now. Shout out to y'all.
All right. And thank you guys for watching Under Construction. Have a successful week. Shout out to the single mothers. Brothers out here looking.
Hey,
Please cut that out. Please cut that out.
You trying to be stepdaddies, man.